Hi all! Rick here with a vessel that exists from the timeline of Star Trek Online. I'm sure you've noticed that I tend to cover canon vessels first and foremost, but occasionally there is a starship that comes along from elsewhere that has such a unique something that I want to cover it. This Solanae class Dyson Science ship is one of those things. In both the shows and external media, research continued into the Dyson spheres that the USS Jenolan and Enterprise discovered, but so far, from the continuity of the series, we have had no revisiting that marvellous construct, so I'll settle for this. Among many of the discoveries there were new power systems, new materials, and a whole lot of information on harnessing energies. The gathered information resulted in the construction of the USS Dyson, the prototype for the Solanae subclass. I mention this as the narrative setup for the real origin for the design. The ship was created as an anniversary vessel based on the direction the tale of STO had been going. An art style had already been established for the Dyson Sphere technology itself based on architecture, so this language was converted into replacing the hull and replicating design elements like the latticework patterns across the surface. They matched the colour scheme too, connecting the technology of the spheres to a very recognisable Starfleet silhouette. One big topic that was brought up was Omega particles. The spheres had been discovered to run on them as a power source, but Starfleet, lore-wise, is not going to touch that, so a conscious choice was made not to incorporate things that might be mistaken for Omega. The transformation element was added after they realised a science ship made sense from a lore standpoint, but gameplay-wise, they'd recently made a new science vessel, so a combat ship would be better. Why not both? The ship is approximately 350 metres long and crewed by 400 officers. While the shape of the starship is reminiscent of a Federation design, almost every element to it is altered, from the deflector to the nacelles. The Dyson Starship's most distinctive feature is the hull. Gone is the standard Duranium Starfleet grey, and even the telltale blue glow of Federation warp coils, replaced instead by porcelain-like panelling and a vibrant purple. This hull is derived from the same insulating materials that made up the Dyson Sphere's internal radiation-shielded areas. Likely pulled apart from the sphere and rebuilt into the hull shapes for this new class prototype. No doubt Starfleet would have liked to have used the neutronium shell, but that's, neutronium, something Starfleet is still trying to figure out how to manufacture into a usable state, let alone incorporate it into designs. This hull plating was chosen for its ability to resist a wide variety of radiation, and especially heat. As Starfleet is still trying to understand its composition, the material has yet to be replicated, and therefore only a handful of ships of this design have been constructed. The purple glow is generated by the proton generators throughout the vessel that have been married to Starfleet technology. This system is combined with several particle emitters to allow for a myriad of unique effects. This includes protonic shielding, which is a unique form of shield grid found only on this vessel, allowing for effectively a second shield around the primary ones. It can also channel the particles into a beam to generate an inversion beam, which can cause a shield system to momentarily lose its structure, surging outwards and likely blinking out before a vessel can re-establish its defence grid. From the main deflector, it can also release a burst to simply deal a wave of damage. However, not all of these effects are designed for combat. That's pretty much a boon that was discovered along the way. As a science vessel, it carries numerous particle and radiation emitters for conducting experimentation on a large scale. For this reason, it also maintains a secondary deflector dish in the saucer, where numerous delicate sensor systems are there to gather information in a quick and thorough scan. Much like the Intrepid class, the saucer's dedicated deflector acts to clear a path of unwanted interference for long and short-range scans. In terms of protection, The Dyson Starship has a reactive shield system, a specialised deflector, and the aforementioned proton shield. Its regular shielding is programmed to respond to the level of impact it receives, with damage that would cause it to fail responded to with a burst of regenerative power, hopefully restoring them to a stable state quicker. Alongside this is a metaphasic shield system to protect against extreme heat and radiation, designed from the one trialled tech from Dr. Rager with another 40 years of advancement. Finally, the main deflector has such a distinctive look to it as the result of its function. The deflector projects a sort of souped-up structural integrity field and ties directly into the reactive shielding system to bolster strained areas of both hull and shielding. All these extensive protections and durability enhancements are in service of one purpose: to withstand a star's surface. The Dyson class is the perfect vessel for weathering any sort of cosmic radiation, extreme heat and pressures. It's a sundiver. However, those same protections mean that it's generally very hardy against a lot of exotic energies and general weapons fire too, but best not take any chances either way. For this reason, it has an adjustable superstructure that causes the nacelles to be pulled in slightly and closes off the secondary deflector along with all its delicate sensor equipment by shrouding it under the hull. Doing this also exposes two heavy proton cannons and diverts power from auxiliary systems to maneuverability. This form was called Tactical Mode, and designed to protect the vessel's science equipment and prepare it for combat should the need arise. Technically, in this configuration, the science vessel could classify as a destroyer. Even the phaser arrays are shielded to withstand radiation that would otherwise interfere with their operation. There are only 4 Mark 12 phaser strips, 2 on the sides, 1 on the top and 1 underneath, but there are also 2 dual phaser cannon points and 4 torpedo launchers, 2 fore and 2 aft. Tucked behind the sliding panels that shield the secondary deflector are the 2 heavy proton cannons. In terms of propulsion, however, the ship has a unique Solanae overcharged warp core. This tech is a successful attempt to combine regular warp travel with subspace folding akin to the capabilities of the Dyson spheres themselves. It can create a localized subspace fold along its forward trajectory to instantly burst the ship forward before regular warp drive takes over. However, at its current stage of development, it yields no sizable advantage over warp drive, with a maximum of just over 9.9. But it's a different way of tackling a warp effect, and this is, after all, an experiment that might yield further innovations. Slipstream didn't work out of the box either. It looks like the class was eventually approved for limited construction, with the Helios class being almost identical in design to the Solanae subclass, but upgraded with a lot of the errors smoothed out. Additionally, the Solanae was merely the Federation's input into this research, as a joint team had been established to investigate a second Dyson sphere between the Klingon Empire and Romulan Republic. The findings were being shared among all 3 powers, so each of these also created their own take on a similar vessel. Thanks for watching this breakdown on the Dyson class, or the Solanae subclass Science Destroyer hybrid prototype thing. This is a design that really stuck out to me for a long time as something that really does look like Starfleet trying something new, almost like they were taking wholesale chunks of something else and building a ship out of it to see what worked. It's a distinctive looking ship, so what do you think? Until the next video, I've been Rick and thanks again. So long and goodbye.